doing consolidation of all of our geometry that we've covered so far. And so you'll see here is a little bit of a written presentation. This was actually done by the grade 8 maths teacher last year, and I just kept it in the notes because I thought it was a pretty good summary. And so let's recap everything we've learned so far. We have learned that angles around a point add up to 360 degrees. Okay, and so that was the diagram that looked like this. So if you think about a full rotation, when you learned about angles in grade 7, you would know a full rotation makes 360 degrees. And so it makes sense then that if we have a point here and then there are multiple lines within that, it makes sense that all of those angles within those lines are going to add up to 360 degrees to make up that revolution. Okay, so that's that. And when we use this reason, and now remember what is all of this? When we are given geometry questions, we're given a diagram and we are told to figure out the value of missing angles. These are almost like a toolbox. This is your toolbox. They've given you a broken something and they've said fix it. It's up to you to go ahead and see what tool is going to work. What tool is going to be the most appropriate? What tool is going to help you the fastest? You could use a wrench to hammer a nail in, but is that going to be the fastest? No. So like I said, with geometry, there's multiple ways you could do something, but there's always a best way. And that's what we're trying to focus on. We want to focus on being able to see the best and quickest way. We want to focus on being able to become really good at using our tools. And these are our tools. When they give us a diagram and they say find the missing angles, we must remember that if you see angles around one point, all of those angles are going to add up to 360 degrees. And when we use this reason, we must give, or rather when we use this rule, we must give a reason for our statement in our diagram. And that is the shorthand version that you're going to use that I've highlighted in purple. Angles round a point. The next thing we learned about was we learned that angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. And if you recall, I told you guys that when you see your angles making a semicircle, so when you almost like draw over all the angles at a point and they make a semicircle, you can then go ahead and use your angles on a straight line rule. And that's our tool, that when we see angles on a straight line, that the curve forms a semicircle, we know that all of those angles are going to add up to 180 degrees. The next thing we learned about is that we have complementary angles, and this complementary angles is really angles that add up to 90 degrees. Okay, so if you see a 90-degree diagram that they've given you, so for example, if they've gone and given you a 90-degree diagram over there and they've got another line in here, you know that when you add up this first angle and the second angle, because it's two angles within a right angle, you know those two angles are going to add up to 90 degrees. And we just call angles that add up to 90 degrees, we call them complementary angles. Now, can you guys tell me what do we call angles that add up to 180 degrees?
Sorry.
Let me see. I see hands. Who was first? Oh no, I just raised my hand. Why did I do that? Uma first. Yes.
Supplementary angles. Sorry.
There you go. Supplementary angles. Thank you for that. So, angles that add up to 180 are supplementary angles, and angles that add up to 90 are complementary. Bree and Paul, I think those are the other hands that were up. Were you raising your hand to answer or to ask me a question?
Yes, ma'am. To answer.
To answer. Okay, great. Did you have the same answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, same reason I wanted to answer.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you all knew the answer to that one. Yes, so we call them supplementary angles. Then we learned about vertically opposite angles. That was this one over there. Hi, Zach. That's okay. What was I doing? Checking. I had a hand. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, so we learned about vertically opposite angles, and this is when we have two straight lines that form an X. I want you guys to be so careful when you use vertically opposite angles, because if you have something that looks like a straight line, okay, that doesn't look like a straight line. Let's make it a little bit less obvious, and then let's use uh, there you go. If you have something like this, it's so easy to think that this is an X, right? But it's not, because can you see that this over here, it's not a straight line, because if it was a straight line, it would have come out this way. So they must be straight lines that make the X. So in other words, if I were to extend this line out in a straight line, what we could say is now these are my vertically opposite angles. I want you guys to see that. So when you see a X, you must always make sure that the arms in your X are straight lines. And I know the second line doesn't look straight. I meant for it to be straight. So let's just act like it is. Okay? Cool, 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 cool. So yes, when you're looking for your X, make sure that they are straight lines. And then as you see here, we have this angle equal to the opposite angle. And in an X, there's also the other side that's true, that the other opposite angle is equal to the other one. Okay, so that's that. So that's when we have vertically opposite angles. And the rule with my vertically opposite angles is that they are equal to each other. So again, we have more tools. When we're given a diagram and we're told, figure out the missing angles, we have a lot of tools that we can go back and see, is this tool going to help me? If yes, let's bring it out. Let's use it. If not, okay, we'll keep it in the toolbox. Let's look for a better tool. That's how this works. Moving on, we learned then about our fun angles. We learned about, firstly, corresponding angles. And if you recall, corresponding angles are my F. Okay? Corresponding angles only work with parallel lines, and corresponding angles are equal. Okay? And so very important to take note of the angles that are relevant in each letter over here. We have the F, and those are the two angles underneath my arms, underneath my parallel lines. Those are the angles that are relevant there. And over here, my shorthand reason that you're going to give is going to be corresponding angles. And because it's a tool that only works with parallel lines, you have to include in your reason which lines in the diagram are parallel. Okay, so that's that. Then we learned about co-interior angles. Those are also created by parallel lines. That's the U in our fun. And so what we did is, if you look at the markings that teacher Sam used over here, she used one line to measure this and two to measure the inside of the other side. And so when you have a U, by the way, these are your parallel lines where I've just drawn arrows. Your parallel lines create the U, okay? And those angles inside the U, they are not equal. That's why we didn't use the same markings to mark them. The rule when you have co-interior angles is that they add up to 180 degrees. And when you use this rule, you're going to tell me co-interior angles is your reason, and you have to tell me what lines are parallel. Cool. And then lastly, we learned about alternate angles on parallel lines. Again, we're dealing with parallel lines, and in your N, or it's a Z, those are your parallel lines. And the rule with those is that those angles are equal. Okay? And so if you look at the angles that are in this little drawing over here, those angles are equal to each other. And if I use this tool, when I give a statement, I'm going to use this reason over here, alternate angles, and I'm going to give my parallel lines. Now, the way I used to remember it at school was if U in X, Y. I told you guys this already. I remembered it as funky. This was quite a good summary of most of these rules. These are my corresponding angles. These are my co-interior angles. These are my alternate angles. These are my vertically opposite angles. And these are my angles on a straight line. So this is how I learned it and how I still think of it today. Fancy. If you have your own rule, that's okay. If you just want to think of it as fun, because these are the ones that have parallel lines involved, then that's okay. Whatever works for you. But you must be able to remember all of these rules. Up until this point, do we have any questions? Itandile, yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Doesn't a vertically opposite angles to have parallel lines? Because when you make the X, you see it as parallel lines because they intersect in the middle.
That's the literal opposite of what parallel lines are. Remember, parallel lines never meet. The definition of parallel lines is that at any given point, they're always the same distance apart from each other. So no, the lines in our X are not parallel because parallel lines never intersect.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Pleasure. I know that might be a little bit confusing because you're like, but there's corners here in the F, but these are the parallel lines. In my U, these are the parallel lines. They're never gonna meet. They might meet my transversal, if you remember, we spoke about a transversal, but they never meet each other. This is my transversal. They meet, my parallel line meets the transversal, and this other parallel line will meet the transversal, but it never meets each other. So be careful with that. Our X does not need parallel lines, and neither does our Y. Okay. I didn't see any other hands or any questions in the chat. Let's move on to some examples. Now, again, we are given diagrams and we have all of our tools. We have all of our tools in our knowledge. Tell me now, guys, looking at these diagrams, what do you see? What tools do you think we can use to do this? Uma, yes, I don't want you to answer the full thing for me. I just want you to tell me what it is that you see.
So for A, I can see angles on a straight line. For B, we can do angles around the points.
100% we could. Okay. Thank you, Uma, for that. I'm going to answer it with your reasons. I just want to do the first two just to go slowly and give everybody a chance to see what it is I'm doing. So in our first diagram, we have A and we have B that are unknown. What Uma has said is that he sees this Y over here. He sees a Y, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to use the rule or the tool, which is my Y. Think of Fancy, you think of the Y, and what is that rule with the Y? It's that those angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so my angle is 80 and A. When I add them together, they should equal 180. So I've just given myself a nice equation here. I'm going to write my rule angles on a straight line, and then I'm going to solve. A is going to be equal to 180 degrees. I want to get my 80 over to the other side because I want to get A by itself. When I take 80 to the other side, it changes sign, and then A becomes 100 degrees. Okay, now that we figured out that A, we actually now know what A is. Umar has said, well, he sees that this is all one point, and all of these angles are formed around that same one point. And so he said he sees angles around a point over there. So what he's done is he's going to say 10 plus 80 plus 100 plus B is going to equal to 360 degrees. Why? Because of angles around a point. Okay. And I should move this a little bit to the side. There we go. And now we can solve. So let's add up first here. This is 10 plus 80 is 90 plus 100. So that's going to be 190 plus B equals 360. I want to get B by itself. So I need to move my 190 over to the other side. And when I do that, my sign changes. Somebody tell me what is 360 minus 190? Yes, Uma?
No, now I wanted to say something. You could have used angles on a straight line for B.
100% you could have. Thanks for that, Uma. I was actually going to do that after this. So we'll look at different ways to get to the same answer. Anybody want to tell me what is 360 minus 190? It is 10, 170. I'm getting, there we go. It is 170 degrees. So what I want you guys to see is how I've just gone and I've used the tools that I had, and I've gone and I've figured out these unknowns. The other way we could have done it is I could have said, wait, this over here, and let me use a highlighter. This over here also makes a Y, which means that this angle plus this angle is going to equal to 180. So what I could have done is I could have said, and I'm going to scroll down a teeny bit there. What I could have done is I could have said 10 degrees plus B is equals, and let me put a big or there, or I could have said 10 degrees plus B equals 180 degrees. Why? Because of angles on a straight line. And I could have then said, well, B is equals to 180 minus 10, and B is then equals to 170. Again, different tools that can do the same thing. One way is faster. In this case, I think they were both about the same. Angles on a straight line was better, but it depends. Sometimes you don't see, the most obvious thing. And so you don't have to go the most obvious way. If you see another way to do it, you are more than welcome to do that. I heard a hand. Itandile, yes.
Ma'am, can I answer the second one?
You can. Let me just ask Umar what his hand is up for.
Ma'am, some people I know some people in my class they do this. They skip that first step, 10 plus B, and they just go for the second step. So
100% you
some
can.
people when they do that they skip the reasoning, so they lose like 1 mark.
Yep. And that's why I try not to skip steps as far as I can, because also when you skip steps, you kind of get like overconfident, and then you end up making silly mistakes, like you don't change signs when you take something over.
Ma'am,
So
let's say we make a mistake for that calculation, so we get 2 wrong instead of one.
wait, repeat that for me. Are you asking me a question?
No, ma'am, I'm not asking a question. I'm just saying.
You're saying if you get 2 wrong?
Some people get 2 wrong because they just keep off that
Yes.
plus
Yes.
B.
Yeah, 100%. Because when you start skipping steps, Well, that's what happens. You start making mistakes. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to skip steps, but I'm saying don't skip them carelessly. You must be very careful and very confident in yourself and your abilities if you're going to skip steps. So that's a very good observation, Ura. Okay. Itandile, question 2 over here. Yes. What are you seeing? What tools are you seeing?
Ma'am, basically, I am seeing angles around a point.
100%. All of these angles are formed around this one point in the middle. So this is angles around a point. Tell me what's your statement gonna be here?
My statement, ma'am, is gonna be 296
Mm-hmm.
plus bracketed x minus 24
Mm-hmm.
plus 29.
Mm-hmm.
So, ma'am, so we are gonna basically, ma'am, I started with combining my 296 plus 29.
Okay. Your statement is not done yet. What's the rule with angles around a point?
How, ma'am?
So you've seen that these are
The
angles.
is equals to 360.
There you go. And immediately at the same time, angles round a point.
A point.
We're not losing our reason mark. This is very, very important. Reasons, very important. Now what? It can be there.
So, ma'am, where I got confused was I started distributing, and I don't know why I distributed, but then now I think that I'm wrong. But, ma'am, I said 296 plus 29,
Mm-hmm.
which gave me 325, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I minused 24.
Okay, so you said you started distributing. When you say distributing, remember distributing means doing the multiplication in the brackets.
Yes, ma'am.
So we could have done that. And remember, there's always this invisible one over here. So we could have distributed. And when you distribute, you'll see that because the sign outside my brackets is a positive, it all stays the same. 296 plus x minus 24 plus 29 equals to 360 degrees. And you'll see 1 times x is just positive x, and 1 times negative 24, well, it's a positive times a negative, so it's going to be negative, and 1 times 24 is 24. Do you see how it stayed the same? All that happened is our brackets were just removed.
Yes, ma'am.
And so now what you were doing, the step you were doing is you were adding like terms. These are all my constants, so they are like terms. So when you said 296 plus 29 minus 24, what did you get? I'm thinking 301.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, so now you have 301 plus x equals 360, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
So, ma'am, after that, I started with saying x is equals to 360, and I transpose 301.
Mm-hmm.
So it was going to be a negative minus 301, and then, ma'am,
Yes.
and my x became 59.
100%. Thank you very much for that one, Itandile. This was the only way to solve this diagram was angles around a point. I don't think any of our other tools would have helped us here. So that was cool. Okay, go back up here. Let's see. Oh, I see a hand. Unati, yes. Okay. Question seems to have been answered, I think. Okay, let's move on to this. What is anybody seeing? What are you guys seeing? Let's focus on the first one. Focus on this one. Ignore this one for now. I heard a hand. Immediately, yes.
Good evening, ma'am.
Evening.
So, ma'am, I see angles on a straight line. Line SR.
Brown line SR, yes. So on which side are you seeing? Because remember, there's the side that's all going to be angles on a straight line, and then there's this side. So which way do you want to do?
Where there's the Y and the 115 degrees and the Z, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'm so glad that you said this. Now tell me, with this rule, what's my statement going to be?
It's going to be Y
Mm-hmm.
plus 115 degrees
Mm-hmm.
plus Z
Mm-hmm.
equals to 180 degrees, and the reason is angles on a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And then
then we're gonna say Y. Wait.
mm-hmm.
Yes, Y equals
Mm-hmm.
180, 180 degrees
Mm-hmm.
minus 115 degrees
Mm-hmm.
minus Z. Wait, yes, minus Z.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to stop you there. Look at what's happening here. We have y on this side and we have z on this side. There are two variables in this equation. There are two unknowns. Right now, we only know how to solve equations when there is one unknown. So
Yes,
here,
ma'am.
you've given me a valid reason and you've given me a valid statement, except this is as far as I can go. It's not going to help me any further than this. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Because now we have two unknowns. And why I actually wrote this down is because this is what happens in tests. It's perfectly okay to do this and then to realize, wait, I've picked a tool that's not going to help me. As soon as you realize that the tool is not going to help you, you need to put it down. You need to pick up a new tool. So we saw angles on a straight line. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to erase it because maybe later on it will benefit me to remember that all of these add up to 180. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Do you see any other way, Emihle, to calculate any of the unknowns in this diagram? If you don't, that's okay.
No, not really, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So let's hear from the rest of our classmates if they see anything. Thank you for that, Emihle. Yes, Itandile.
Ma'am, I see vertical opposite angles. So, ma'am,
Mm-hmm. Where?
I see vertical opposite angles, and my vertical opposite angles is z equals to 30.
Z. Okay, there we go. So Itandile sees straight line TU and RS over there. And she sees those two lines make an X, which means that these angles are equal to each other, which is 100% correct. So Itandile has now told me that Z is equals to 30 degrees. Why? Because of vertically opposite
Opposite
angles.
angles.
100%. Thank you, Itandile. Is there anything else you see that you want to share?
But ma'am, I also see a straight line. But
Okay.
then there's no numbers on the straight line.
Okay, I'm gonna call Emihle back. Emihle, talk to me quickly. Do you see that
Yes, ma'am.
now we know what Z is? So let's go back and let's go and actually do this. So I'm going to move this here. Obviously, in a test, you wouldn't have the luxury of moving your stuff around, but that's okay. You don't need to. There we go. So let's do this now. Now you have this y is equals to 180 minus 115 minus z. Now we know what z is. What is z initially?
It's 30 degrees, ma'am.
Right, so I'm going to substitute. Minus 115 minus 30. Now tell me what to do.
So, ma'am, I said 180 minus 115 minus 30,
Mm-hmm.
which got me 35 degrees, ma'am.
35 degrees, 100%. Do you see how it was good for you to identify those angles on a straight line? It just wasn't the right time to use that specific clue. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Cool. And so
Thank you.
Itandile, there was your straight line. Same thing. Thank you, Inise and Itandile, for
Thank
that
you,
one.
ma'am.
Ma'am,
Mhm.
we haven't solved for x because we solved for y. So
I know. Mhm.
isn't oh okay, sorry, ma'am.
Yes. No. Carry on.
Ma'am, I was gonna say y is y 35
Mhm.
is equals to x, vertically opposite angles.
Okay. Look at what you said. Y is 35, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you are saying that this is an X. Does that look like an X?
Does it look like what, ma'am?
An X?
No, ma'am.
No, because look at this line, right? This one over here. So PQ is a straight line, sure, 100%. This is a straight line. But this line over here, you wanted to say 35 over here was equals to X. But already, can't you see that they're not really opposite each other in like directly above?
Yes, ma'am.
So this line over here is not going to help me because if I use this straight line, there is an X over here, but then those vertically opposite angles is this and this. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But there is an X, and let me show you where. My X is here and here.
So x is equal to 150.
100%. What's my reason?
But opposite angles are equal.
100%. What I want you guys to see also, Itanile, I'm just going to mute you quickly. Sorry. Here we go. I can hear myself when you're unmuted because I'm echoing. I think you probably have two devices open. Um, anyways, so what I want you to see is if this was the, and I can't even remember where that straight line was now that I saw. If this was the straight line that you, oh yes, if this was the X that you identified, 100% you could have used this to calculate that as well. You could have said 115 plus z is equals to x plus 30. And we know what z is, so you could have said 115 plus 30, and that's 35, plus 35 is equals to x plus 30. Now you see we have only one variable. Solve your equation, and you would have gotten an answer there as well. So again, sometimes you may not see the most obvious road, but if you don't, that's okay. You can take back roads and get to the same place. As long as you get to your destination, we don't care. So that is that. Any questions on this one so far? Itandile, your hand is still up. Question? Okay, hand is down now. How are we feeling about this? Can I get some reactions maybe? Are we feeling okay? Are we feeling bad? Good?
I'm feeling okay, ma'am.
I'm glad, Liacho. I know you said you hated geometry. Do you still feel like that?
No, ma'am, not really.
I'm glad. Okay, I'm seeing thumbs ups. Good, 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 good. Happy days. And it's 1:15, so let's see how much. Okay, I want to do this one more and then we're going to go into our brain break. This one is a little bit less of a tricky one and one that kind of has only one way to do it. What shape are you guys seeing here? What tool are you recognizing here? Anybody? Uma, yes?
Ma'am, I can see corresponding angles in the diagram.
You can see? Did you say corresponding?
Yes.
100%. Are these the corresponding angles you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So what's my statement going to be?
First, I'm going to label it A, B, C, D. So AB is parallel to CD.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank you for that.
so 11x minus 2 is equals to 75.
11x minus 2 is equals to 75. Hold on, Uma. So why are we saying 11x minus 7 or 11x minus 2 is equals to 75? What made us say that? Well, we see an f and we identified our angles that are relevant in our f, and we go back to our tools and we look, what about these angles in an f? The rule is that those angles are equal. And so that is why we said, well, this angle, which is 11x minus 2, must be equal to the other angle, which was 75. And that is how we got this equation. Uma, reason?
Corresponding angles.
Mm-hmm. Corresponding angles. Sorry, I'm just trying to separate that. Yes, next.
So 11x is equals to 75 minus 2.
Mm-hmm. No, actually.
Oh, plus 2, sorry, plus 2.
There you go. We see that this -2 is not the same as my variable term over here. So I want to move my variable term over. When I move my term over, my sign must change. So that -2 is going to become a +2 on the other side. Then we'll have 11x is equals to 77. What next, Umar?
You divide by 11 on both sides. X is equals to 7.
Thank you. We have now divided by 11 on both sides. Why did we do that? And I say this all the time and I repeat myself, so I hope it drills into your heads and you'll never, never, never forget it. Because 11x really means 11 times x. And how do we solve equations? When we solve equations, our main goal is to get the variable by itself. And how do we do that? We do it by eliminating everything else using inverse operations. So in order to eliminate my multiplication by 11 over here, I need to divide by 11. Multiplication by 11 and division by 11 will cancel out. And that's exactly what's happened here. 11 and 11 cancels, leaving us with just x on this side. And then 77 divided by 11 is 7. Okay, brain break in 2 minutes. Brain break right now. Oh my gosh, you guys are never gonna get this one. This one took, I have a brother who's in grade 9. It took him half an hour to get the answer to this question. If anybody gets it right now in the next 1 minute, I'm gonna call you a genius, and yeah, you're just gonna be a genius. You're in a room with 2 doors. So we have 2 little doors, okay? One is a trap, and one is freedom. Okay, we don't know which is which. Um, we don't know which door is which. Each door has a guard. So boom, bam, bob. And actually, I want to make my guards girls. Who says the guards can't be little girls? You know? So we have two little guardian children, girlies over there. Let's give them some hair. Boom, bam. Okay, so we have two little guards over here. And what we are saying is that one guard always tells the truth and the other guard always lies. And you can only ask one guard one question. So you can ask any guard, but you don't know which one is lying and which one is telling the truth. And you can only you can only ask one question. What are you going to ask? Zach is asking, which door do I go in? You're going to die because you don't know. Maybe you asked the lying God and he lied to you and told you to go in the trap door. Now you've gone in the trap door and you're dead, Zach. Same with you, Kaylee. You asked the lying God. You know, your luck was gone. You asked the lying God and you're in the trap now. Thank you, Emihle. Same to all of my young woman in the class. Is this the door? No. Which of you is lying? Wow. Bree, that will be able to tell you which guard to ask, but you've already used your one question. So same with you, Nkuli. You're going to ask, are you the guard that tells the truth? If they say yes, firstly, you don't know whether they're lying or telling the truth. And you've used your one question. Let's see if anybody with the hands has anything. Itandile, yes.
Ma'am, can't you say you're imagining this whole entire situation?
No, you can't, Itandile. Let's see if Liacho knows. Liacho, yes.
Okay, ma'am, this is quite a tough decision, ma'am. This is basically like angel versus devil. So yeah, which door do I go in? Like, you?
Well, you get to ask a question. What question are you going to ask?
Oh, ma'am, I get to ask a question.
Yes, you get to ask one of the guards a question.
Okay, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, I don't even know what question to ask, ma'am. Just okay, ma'am. Now let me think. I'll come back to you.
Okay. Let's see if anybody else knows. In the meantime, Bree. Umar.
So, man, this is basically what my brains are thinking. Right?
Mhm.
If one of them lies,
Mhm.
like if I ask them my question, right,
Mhm.
and I know which one is saying the truth or lie, isn't I can just walk through the gate or door, or whatever.
Yes, but you don't know which one is telling the truth and which one
So
is
if you
lying.
ask them if you're lying or not,
Mhm.
the one who's saying the truth would say no. The one who's saying a lie would say no. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So okay, I'm still thinking. Right?
Let
If
me
you
show you guys the answer because there's
no,
other
no,
questions.
ma'am, we should guess. We should guess, ma'am. Just take your time. Don't worry, ma'am.
You guys aren't gonna get it. This is what I'm saying. It took my brother 30 minutes, and he still actually didn't even get it. I just showed him the answer.
Wait, ma'am. Give us one hint. One hint. Like,
Yeah, one hit, ma'am.
yeah.
Ma'am, I've got the answer, ma'am.
Yes, let's hear.
Ma'am, can you ask the guard which door leads us to freedom?
Well, you can, but then you don't know if the guard is lying or telling the truth.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Let me show you guys the answer because the answer is also complicated. It's gonna take me time. So you can ask any guard which door would the other guard say leads to freedom. Okay. Now ignore this line because you guys are gonna get confused. So you're asking the guard, which door does the other guard say leads to freedom? The truthful guard is gonna point to the trap because they're gonna tell the truth and they're gonna say that the lying guard is gonna lie and point to the trap and tell you that the trap leads to freedom. And then if it's the lying guard that you're asking, he's gonna lie and say that the truthful guard is gonna point to the trap. Because the truthful God is going to tell the truth, but the lying God is going to lie about it. So
But ma'am,
Which,
that's what I said.
Yeah, man, that makes
no.
no sense.
But
It
that's
makes no
exactly what
sense.
I said, ma'am. I said which door leads us to freedom, ma'am.
Yes, but it's not the same question. We're asking here, we're asking the God, which door is the other God gonna say leads to freedom?
The right door. I don't know.
Actually, I knew you guys weren't gonna get it. I knew it takes so long to understand. I don't know why I thought this was gonna be a good brain break, but that's the answer. Take a screenshot if you must, and figure it out. So basically, they're both gonna point to the trap. If you ask this question, any God you ask is gonna point to the trap. So then, obviously, you know that's the trap. Then you're gonna go to the other door. Cool.
Ma'am, what if there's no trap?
No, but there is a trap. We know there's a trap. We just don't know
Okay, then
where.
what if there's two traps and there's no freedom?
No, there is a freedom. We know that. We know. Next one. Let's look at the next two. I'm gonna give you like 1 minute to see if you can figure out these answers. They're not so bad. I'll take the hands. Liahu, any idea?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm not gonna do this one, ma'am. I just forgot to put my hand down.
Unati, you? No. Nkuli, you?
Ma'am, for the father one, a father
Mhm.
has 4 daughters. Each daughter has one brother. How many children does the father have? The father only has 5 children.
100%. Because the father has 4 daughters and one son. All of the daughters have the same one brother. 100%.
Yes. Oh, ma'am,
Thank
I've got
you.
the answer to the third one.
What is it?
It's 7.
100%. Oh my gosh, I didn't expect you to get that.
Ma'am, was this really a brain break? I'm just saying. Like, ma'am, like it actually made us think, ma'am.
I was
So,
just gonna say it's just a break from maths, not from
oh, okay, ma'am.
thinking.
Oh, okay, ma'am. I get you. I get you.
So it's an odd number, which is 7. You take away one letter, take away the S, and it's now even. There we go. Thank you for that. Kuli, good job spotting that.
Thank you, ma'am.
And
Yeah,
then
thank you.
Liaho. Itandile. Muting. There we go. Okay, let's see what I had under here. Oh my gosh. Anybody have any idea what we're doing here? First thing I'm seeing parallel lines. I'm always interested in parallel lines. Yes, I saw hands. Let's see who was first. Okay, Itandila, your hand is up. Nkuli, your hand is
Ma'am,
up.
in my defense, I think I see an if.
You do. Where? Here?
Yes, ma'am.
You do see an if.
But
Is
then
your
I'm not.
if gonna help you?
No, ma'am. But
No?
then I do see a U. But
You
then I don't
do?
think they're gonna help me as much.
You see a U? So this is what I'm saying. We see our tools, but they're not gonna help me in this case.
I
You
think I also
know?
see a Z.
You also see a Z where?
CD is parallel to AB.
So like this.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this gonna
So
help you?
I think so, ma'am.
100% it is. Tell me what your statement is.
So, ma'am, I'm not too sure about my statement, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 5A plus 40A
Mm-hmm.
plus 100.
Okay. My first question to you. What is the rule when we have this said, when we have alternate angles?
I need to flip my book.
I can go back up here quickly. What's the rule when
Um,
we have a Z?
parallel lines are equal. So I think you're supposed to say 5A
Mm-hmm.
plus 5A
Oh no. Uh,
plus
ah,
40 is equals to A plus 100.
100%.
Yes,
Reason. alternate angles.
CD parallel to AB.
Mhm.
So, ma'am, I think we're gonna say 5A minus A is
Mhm.
equals to 100 minus 40.
Okay, so what I've highlighted in the same colors, you'll see is like terms. So I move my A over to the side and I'm moving my 40 over to the side. A became negative. 100 stays on the same side. 40 moves over, becomes negative. 5A minus A, Itandile?
It's 4A, ma'am,
For
is
A
equal to 60A. 60, sorry.
is 60.
Divide both sides by A.
By?
It be by 4, ma'am. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I have A in my head. A is equals to 15.
15 degrees. Uma, I feel like you're itching to answer something. Do you wanna? Uma?
Ma'am, by the way, on the last one, I see
Mhm.
a complementary angle and a straight line.
Which one? This last one?
Yes, ma'am.
You do. Uma, do you want to answer? If you don't, that's fine.
Ma'am, I can answer this, ma'am. This is easy. I eat this for breakfast, ma'am.
Okay, let's go.
So I can see one whole big straight line. So 90 plus 40 plus 6x plus 2 is equals to 180. We're using a sum of angles on a straight line.
Sum of angles on straight line. Tell me what's next.
So I like adding my right terms
Yes.
on the left hand side first and then transposing it. So
Mm-hmm.
90 plus 40 is 130 plus 2 is 132 plus 6x is equals to 180.
Mm-hmm.
Then 6x is equals to 180 minus 132. 6x is equals to 48. And now you divide by 6 on each side. So 48 divided by 6 is 8.
Very good job, Uma. Thank you for answering. I just wanted to give you a chance because you didn't answer today. Oh no, don't
Ma'am,
go.
I answered today, ma'am.
I don't think so. Well, you did. You
Ma'am,
answered
I
the
answered
first
like
one.
one of the first questions, like
Yes.
earlier on
But
the.
that's what I mean. Like, I didn't let you answer. I told you just tell me what you see, and then I answered it. So there we go. That's the end of our lesson, guys. I'm gonna
Ma'am,
put yes.
I finally understand. This whole week, I haven't understood a thing.
I'm so glad. Let me go back up here. You can take screenshots of this if you want to try these ones. A little bit more complicated, but still doable. Everybody, I hope that you see geometry is not so bad.